Thank you.
Is Andre the one that has the mask on? Is he wearing a mask on his face?
No,
Okay.
we have a guy named Kerwin that wears a mask on his face on the 3rd floor.
I need to go out there and meet Andre.
Hey, he's fun. He's a good guy. Y'all got the Star Spencer connection.
Oh, yeah.
Are you ready? Okay, I'm going to call to order this special meeting of the Board of Equalization. Today is Tuesday, April 16th. It is 9:30. Notice of this meeting was properly posted April the 11th. First, we'll have roll call. Mr. Brett Town.
Present.
Ms. Teresa Sellers.
Present.
And I'm Eleanor Thompson. We have 15 items on the agenda today. 2 persons are here. And then we'll have Mr. Hayes on the phone. So, item 1 is going to be BOE number 444. Mr. Oyer and Ms. McKay, would you guys come forward? Let me explain to you guys how we do this. You guys are going to explain to us why you think your valuation should be the way you set it. And then we'll hear from the assessor, but we give you the last word. Then we'll meet on Friday. We won't determine today. We'll meet on Friday and set the actual value, and then we'll notify you by mail. So depending on how the mail runs, you'll either get it Saturday or Monday. Tuesday at the latest.
Thank you.
Sure.
Before we start, I was a little confused on this one. Is the assessor at $100,000 now?
No, we're at 123.
23.
Yes.
It was 100 last year.
Yes.
But it
Yes.
started at 134 this year.
Correct.
And
Yes.
you lowered it.
You read it lower.
Okay, because it's the one where the county assessor signs it, it said alternative fair cash value to $100,000.
That's last year's, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
That's what it was last year.
That's what it was that.
Right.
They agreed
Yeah,
with
I
it
think if
last
you look at the date on that document, I think it'll say 2022, maybe? Because I did see that.
Okay, so BOE number 444, number R 117791 395 1228 Warren Place. So we've established that the assessor thinks it should be 123. So was it lowered at the informal?
No.
No, was not lowered at the informal. Okay, what would you like for the us to set the rate at?
Last year, the same as last year, $100,000.
Okay.
That's the figure that they agreed to. They wanted $134,000. I filed a protest
Last year?
last year,
Okay.
and they called me and said, we will agree, it's $100,000 last year.
Okay.
So that was by agreement on that last year's
Okay.
assessment.
And why do you think it should not increase in a year?
Well, we've got I have a totally different ideology as to how this goes, I guess, than the current assessors. My figures are, and my thinking is that is from the period of time from January 1 to December 31 of that year.
Yes.
They have not, and we asked that if you disagree with the proposed 100,000, Please explain how and why it's different. We set forth all of the damage that we have in the house. We have termite damage. We've got quite a bit of termite damage. It's been recognized in prior years. They said, oh no, they said nothing as to how they arrived at the figure. The assessor came out with $123,000, which is what they had recommended for this year.
Yes.
He said, oh, that's it, so we can't change it. I said, well, how do you arrive at this $123,000? What figures it is, what process are you using? Well, it's sales. And it's sales from 2020, 2021, and 2022 with an advancement on that as to the projected time increase. I don't think it's proper for them to go back to 2021, 2022, 2023.
Yes.
If that is proper, I can find you some evaluations from the 20s that make this look ridiculous on the deal, but there was no explanation. I said, and I tried to get it from him. I said, okay, how many of these houses have been remodeled and refurbished? He had no idea. I said, well, it is a process. I've gone by several of them, and there's spray paint, there's new garages, there's garage doors. Several have been. Yes. So, and I said, okay, now how do you arrive at this adjusted figure for an extra $33,000 that you put in there for the time lapse? No explanation whatsoever. It appears to me that they're just picking a figure and then trying to justify the figure. They have not satisfactorily shown to my satisfaction how they arrive at these figures, which I think is their duty. Plus, there is a question as to whether or not they're a stop from last year agreement to the $100,000 to trying to raise here $23,000 arbitrarily. I mean, they're trying to give me the impression that, well, we're doing you a favor because we didn't include the time adjustment for value. That's nonsense. And where he's coming up with this, I know of no procedure whatsoever. I think they are bound by the 1-year provision, that they have a duty to come forward and prove how they arrived at this new figure and that my house is worth that. Not what some other house has sold for 3 years ago down the street, that someone may or may not have paid an inflationary price. That's their problem. It's not my problem.
Did you give them the evidence of the termite damage?
Yes, I did. He's got color photos of all this. There should be extra copies
I'm just asking.
of,
Sure.
of the brief and
That was in our package.
Yes.
in our package. Yes.
Is this your residence or
Yes,
is it
it
a
is.
rental? Okay.
Yes, it is.
And you bought it, my record indicates, in 2008 for $55,000.
Yes, it was a sheriff's sale. It was
Okay.
in very bad condition. The back roof was off, and a lot of termite damage was replaced at that time.
Okay.
So you have repaired some
Back
of the
in-
termite damage?
Yes, 15 years ago, 16 years ago, whenever we bought it. Before we moved into it, we had to, the back half of the roof was gone. It looked nice from the street, but there was no back half of the roof.
So there's no current active termite?
Yes, there still is. There's pictures, the pictures that I attached are from last year's, not this year. But the termite damage has, if anything, it has increased. Termites are still eating. The damage is still there. I mean, if we get into a sales situation, we're gonna have to disclose it, and there's gonna be a question of, well, how much has that reduced the value? According to the assessor that we talked with, none. He said there's no problem there. No adjustment is allowed. No adjustment is deserved, or words to that effect. They were very polite. I'm not criticizing them for that.
Sure.
Which has been different from some assessors in the past, but they were very polite.
Okay. Well, we hear from the assessor.
Okay, so this, yes, as stated earlier, this house was purchased back in November of 2008 for $55,000, which was a sheriff's deed sale. 1,118 square feet. We have it as a fair quality property. Year built 1958. This house has not been remodeled. I do want to point that out. So it's the effective year built and the original year built is 1958. During the location, we're off of North Meridian and Northwest 10th.
Yes.
And those are the major intersections, and they're right here off of, next to Northwest 111th Terrace off of North Warren Place. And here's the overview of the house, aerial view. We are aware of the termite damage, and during the 2023 appeal, we lowered the value because of the condition. Termites, rotting, nothing has changed in years, so we ended up increasing the negative value adjustments to reflect the issue. So those negative adjustments are still in play. The 2024 value is $123,000. That's what we kept them on, which is $110.02 a square foot. They are requesting last year's value of $100,000, which is $89.45 a square foot. The comps we did use, we're using a variety of comps going from 22, 21, and 20 due to the fact that some of the recent sales in 23 are non-qualified sales, and I'll get to that in just a moment. And the median comps support a value of $123,407, which puts it at $110.38 a square foot. The subject age is 65 years old, and the average age of the comps provided during the informal are 62.2. They wrote a looks like a memorandum going into the board, and I looked at that information about some of the comps that they provided, and I will highlight those here in a minute. But the reason why I can't use now there is one 2023 sale that I did look at. Can't use it though because it would have supported their value going higher. It was I don't have the 1212 North Vermont Avenue sold for $225,000.
How far away?
I don't have the exact. I'm just looking. Yeah, I don't have that exactly right there. So I threw that out. There was one other 2023 sale that sold for $181,000 on 1209 North Warren Avenue. The other 2023 sales, one was an estate sale. We couldn't use that. That was 4120 Northwest Liberty. 4417 Northwest Liberty sold twice in 23, and both were distress sales, and we can't use those.
What did you say, the 1209 Warren?
Sorry, 1209 North Warren, $181,000 sell price.
And what was the square footage of that?
What did you say about that one?
It was a qualified sale.
Okay.
Let me see. 1209 North Warren we have as 1,189 square feet. That wasn't in the original comps. However, I'm going to get to that one in a minute. That might shine some light on the subject, so I did some other additional research. They did provide some comps in their report coming into today, and they did also provide this information during the informal, so I wanted to highlight those real quick. The reason why we couldn't use those. One of the ones mentioned was 4113 Northwest Liberty Street. It sold in 2020 for $92,500, but we couldn't recognize that one because it was a purchase from a financial institution, so we had to throw that out. But then it later sold again in June of 21. We threw it out because it was a quitclaim deed. 4348 Northwest 12th Street sold in 2020 for $75,000, but we couldn't use that because it was an estate sale. It later sold again in November of 21, a qualified sale for $172,500. And then 4116 Northwest 12th Street, sold for $61,021, but it was a related party transfer from one family member to another. Couldn't use that one. And then, like I said, there's also, we did have another, there was another 2020 sale. It goes too far back, so we didn't consider that because we've got more recent sales I can look at that can support the value of that. So that was a valid sale, but I did not use that one because it just didn't look good on my end. And it was, like I said, it's 4 years ago. And then there was one other one on 4308 Northwest 11th Street that sold for $59,000. We couldn't use that sale because it exceeded reasonable market parameters for the market area that it's in. So none of the comps, we didn't ignore any of the comps the Oilers provided. It was just that we looked at them and that we couldn't use them because they wouldn't work in our analysis. I did want to point out that I did some research to kind of see where we could see if anything could be done. I did pull some new comps, which includes one of the ones I mentioned earlier that was a valid sale, which was 1209 North Warren Avenue. That is a 23 sale. Then I found a couple others nearby that were all 22 sales. These are 0.08 miles, 0.06, 0.14, 0.04, and 0.06. And I can support a little bit of a lowering of 119,000 based on the new data that I did run. So we do have them at 123 right now. I can support a little bit of a lowering of going to 119. But as of right now, that is all I have. Oh, and sorry, the 119 would be 106.44 a square foot.
Do you recall why it was lowered last year to 100K?
Probably because of due to condition issues with the home.
Okay, and then you said in the early part of your explanation, can you repeat again, you said something about how the valuation based off of last year or something. I didn't quite get all your notes.
Oh, sorry. During the 2023 appeal, we lowered the value because of condition. There were already some negative adjustments on the property. One of our higher-ups decided to increase those negative adjustments due to the termites and the rotting that was still evident with the property. So we increased the negative value adjustments to reflect those issues.
You increased the negative, so in other words,
We
he made it more negative or less negative?
yeah, sorry, my apologies. Like we had it probably at one time negative 10%. We now have it at negative 20%.
Which would ultimately lower the value.
More, yes. So they could be higher. They could be on higher than what we have them on right now, but because of those negative adjustments, they're lower.
But then you also added in the year-over-year increase on just values.
Correct, yes. And the comps provided is the reason why we supported the initial value of 123.
Comps.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any questions, Brett?
I know this really doesn't have anything to do with the valuation. Is there a senior freeze on this or any other?
I can check for you.
I saw homestead, but I didn't see the senior.
It is a homestead, but there is no senior freeze on it right now.
Okay.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's fine.
I could answer that for you.
Okay, you get the final word.
Basically, we just went through a litany of picking and choosing prices. My Exhibit 7 attached to the last free memorandum we filed with the Board of Equalization. We noted on the right these particular, he's mentioned a couple of them, but there's several he has not. 12224, $100,000, down about 15 slots, 79,500 at 4103.
Right, 103. Ward?
Yes, Northwest 11,
Oh, Northwest
4103. Then,
Is it a comparable size? What's the square footage?
I think it is. I would have to double check it. I did not check all of these. I went primarily on the prices, that there was no mention by them. We also have 4308 Northwest 11th, 59,000. Now this may be one that he decides that is not comparable because it was an inter-party sale. I don't know.
Yeah, he did say that that one was not a qualified sale.
Then we have 4116 $61,000. This is their list of comparables that's attached to on the website. That's attached to our house. There are two more down there, and there's a couple more that are on the list. I've checked on the side for notification to. I would like to incorporate that. There's no need to sit here and go through each.
Yeah, I have a copy of that
Yes.
document. That's why I was checking them off as he was
Yes.
stating them. I thought that was, you provided that, correct?
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
we
I
did.
thought so.
But then that's the extent of it. I still think that most of their sales are reconditioned. Most of them are top quality. That's not what we're dealing with here. It's a totally different situation. I think they have failed to take that into account when they arrive at their prices. And still, I have a question: how we arrive at these prices? Where do we pick these figures from? How do we mathematically come up with a value of $123,000 or $134,000? Where does all this come from?
Well, you understand, he's offered to reduce it to 119,000 based off of new comps. that
I
he
understand. I still disagree with this,
Yeah.
but I'm sorry, but I do. I respectfully disagree. I'll put it that way.
Okay. Anything further, Brett?
No.
Okay. We're gonna meet on Friday and set the valuation. Thank you for the submissions.
We do not have to appear Friday.
That is correct.
That's just the board meeting.
That's just.
Okay, thank you.
It's correct.
I want to make
Nice to
that
see you.
clear. I did.
Nice to see you.
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Appreciate it. Thank you so
Appreciate it.
much for your time.
Oh, sure. I hope you feel better.
Yeah, he will. I'll make him.
Oh, maybe. Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Are you?
Hi, how are you?
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm gonna close the hearing on BOE number 444 and go to item 2 on the agenda, which is BOE 445, 7801 North May, which you think is commercial. Come forward.
Hi, C-Store. Hey, I Todd Herndon. Hi, Todd. How are you tonight?
So were you here in the beginning to hear what the procedure was?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And, are you Mr. Foster?
I'm Todd Herndon. I'm the real estate
Okay.
broker and manager.
All right. I've got that the assessor has set this as a market value of 230,000, down from last year, which was 259,079, and in 22, 227,162. This is R133640995, 7801 North Bay. What is this?
It's that
It's a-
Chapala restaurant, isn't it?
Yeah.
Been there.
It's-
I've
it's
been
a-
there. It's the Chapala restaurant.
okay.
They like the old Pizza Hut building.
Oh,
It's a-
okay.
Yeah, there it is.
I recognized it because I have eaten there.
Okay.
It's good food and a lot of food.
Tell us what you'd like for us to know, and how you arrived at your, or what are you asking for us to set the value at?
155.
What, okay, tell us how you arrived at that.
Some comp sales, and then the comps that were provided from the assessor were a little included some things that probably shouldn't have. I've prepared a booklet for everybody. I don't know. I haven't done this in 30 years.
Did you, we can only accept from you what you gave to them in your informal. Is anything in your booklet different from what
It's
you?
just pictures. There's
Just- that's
pictures
fine.
of like the existing building.
That's fine. All right.
And then like an aerial photograph that shows the limited access because it only has one drive.
Right.
And then,
Are these things you discussed with them at the informal?
I don't,
You talked to Jason, and these are the only documents that I have right here. this is the CoStar report and map, and he did a income workup based off of what you sent to him right here.
Yeah.
That's the only information that I have available.
Okay, so,
Yeah, that information was all provided to us. I did see that in the package, but.
And really the only thing I'm presenting is a rebuttal to what's already been provided. So for instance, the Dunkin' Donuts, what's been completely remodeled, was the very first comparable.
I will,
You can certainly speak to it.
Okay. I have to look at it because my memory is not very good. And the notes to comparables was included in the response that I gave. So 4400 Northwest 39th is a Dunkin' Donuts. It's been completely remodeled. The original square footage on that building was 1,848 square feet. It was lowered to 1,408 to accommodate what Dunkin' Donuts parameters are. And so I don't know whether it's new construction or if it's totally remodeled, but it's one of the two. This property has a drive-through window. Our property does not have a drive-through window. The Dunkin' Donuts has 3 access points. One is obviously the exit for the drive-through. Our property only has a single drive, and it sits on the Dunkin' Donuts sits on 14,000 square feet of ground. This property sits on 12,000 feet. The Dunkin' Donuts is a corner, and the old Pizza Hut is mid-block. Of course, as has been said, Dunkin' Donuts is a national franchise, and Chapala is a local operator. And I mean, that's just the comp that you guys provided. It's just a different picture of that same comp. That's the backside of the drive-through. And I've got one of these for everybody, but I don't know if you'll see it from there, but there's another picture of the drive-through. There's the new storefront glass. That's the new sign and the new building. There's a picture of the glass vestibule. There's the interior that's been completely remodeled. New ceilings, new lighting. And then that shows the corner location.
Well, I just asked the assessor, would you have taken into account the remodel of that
Dunkin'
Donuts?
I'm not sure when that was remodeled, because the sale date says 2022. I don't know if we have anything on that particular one that says that there was a remodel done to it. That one,
It says it was remodeled in 1999 on your assessor sheet.
Oh, so they did.
Down here at the bottom.
So I guess my question is, would you have made adjustments for that when you pulled the comp, similar to what you do on the residential? I'm not as familiar with the commercial, so I'm not sure if you do the adjustments like you do.
well,
Like you this.
I don't know if there is an effective year built of 1981 is effective year built. So apparently there was we allowed like a general renovation in 2011, which brought it up a little bit. So, but still, it's an older building, and that's still accounted for.
Okay, so they did comps, and you are rejecting their comps, or are you rejecting the adjustments they made?
I'm rejecting all 3 comps.
All 3.
If I guess if I put $80 a foot into my building, it would probably be similar to the Dunkin' Donuts.
Okay.
And of course, Dunkin' Donuts is going to pay more rent for a property like that if they rent it. This is owned by Dunkin' Donuts.
Okay, okay, so you reject all of theirs, and so how did you arrive at yours?
Just comp sales. I mean, you've got. I mean, I heard some in the other meeting that there were comp sales that were allowed.
Yes.
I do have comp sales.
But did you provide those to the assessor's office in the informal?
I didn't. I don't think I did, but they're available. These comps these are simply taken from the database at the Oklahoma County Court, at the Oklahoma County Assessor. And so, I mean, if you
Did you
use,
get that from his website? You can use what's at his website. Is it on his website?
yes, ma'am, I used your website.
Well,
The
we're
Oklahoma,
not the assessor.
no, I'm sorry, the assessor's web, I
That's
use the
okay.
assessor's website, yes, ma'am.
That's right. Okay.
And so every piece of data here comes directly from that website. And I've got each one of the, for instance, that's a Bell Bonds building that sold. And then there's the actual sheet that, and then I just reduced it down to a little Excel spreadsheet. I've got the green ones, which are most applicable, the yellow ones, which are ridiculous in my favor, which would, you guys, I wouldn't use them. And so I'm just saying that the assessor probably shouldn't use the three that they use. And I'd like to address the other two comps because I want to make sure that everybody understands that those values are not acceptable either. The second comp, which is 1019 North Virginia, this is a little tougher one. But I happen to know the seller and I actually went to the property. This is the subject property right here, 1019 North Virginia. And this building right here is occupied by a tenant that has put a tremendous amount of money into that property, into the interior of that property, kitchen, and you can see the large air conditioner there. And I've got, this was the discussion of this was part of what I submitted in the info.
Okay.
And so what happened was the people that bought this is Corsair Caron. I get that last name mixed up, but it's Sean and Scott. Scott Smith is the owner of Corsair, and Sean is their partner. They bought this property for $35,000, and that was about 6 or 7 years previous. And what happened was, because of the access that these folks need for their overhead doors and their refrigeration and their facility that's over here, they ended up renting this property for $900 a month, the subject property. And after renting it for a while, Scott told them that he was going to sell it. And they realized that if they didn't buy it, their access to this was going to be dead. So that was a sale under duress. They also carried a note, which probably wouldn't have been repeated in a third-party lender situation.
Well, if it was sold under duress, that would benefit you?
He's saying they paid more than they.
Oh, I
a
see.
normal
More.
person would
Okay.
have because
So
they
the
had to have the
distress
property.
over. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically the seller bought it for 35,
Sure.
and then he turned around and sold it for 300.
Oh.
He asked them for $60,000 down, and then the payment became $2,200 a month. So it was a little more than twice what they were paying in rent, and that really bumped the value up. But they were, again, the biggest issue. The two things that really make this a sale that's difficult to look at as a comp is one, the note and the carryback by the seller, because he knew the position that he had them in, and the access. The access is the main issue because of the duress there. I don't think anybody else would have bought that property for $300,000. It's at 1019 North Virginia. I don't know if you're familiar with that area, but it's tough.
Yes.
It's a little better, just one block north where Nick's sells hamburgers, cheeseburgers. That's a pretty good spot, but that little spot right there. But it's amazing the business that they're doing there. It's I don't know what they're doing there, but I went inside and they had a lot of different things. If I address the next
The
comp,
third one.
yeah. Here's, by the way, this is the aerial map on the assessor's page, and you can see the subject building is here. And while these are not always accurate, that's a lot of difference there for having that one access point for this other building, which they were a tenant in on that north side.
We're still talking about comp 2 there, right? Or
Yeah. Yes, right.
And then there's so comp 4 or comp 3. That's a liquor store located at 1125 North Midwest Boulevard. I was kind of baffled at the price of that one because of the fact that it was at 1125 North Midwest Boulevard. I've sold property over the years, and the value that came out of that one was just crazy in my mind. So I was like, okay, I got to drive by this one and see what's going on. So what I found out was I asked to speak to the owner, and the owner was in the next door building in the convenience store. And I said, you know, I'm getting ready to go into discussion with the assessor, and I don't agree with the value that they put on your property. For some reason, it's sold for, what was that number?
$400,000.
Thank you, $400,000. And so I was like, it's just incredible. How did you guys buy this property for $400,000? He said, well, there was over $100,000 in just inventory. So the liquor and the beer and all that stuff was included in the sale price. And that happens a lot more often than you think. So if I'm selling a business and I'm selling a property, there's some value in having that in the real estate versus having it in the business. And in addition to that, there's FF&E, a lot of equipment. This refrigeration equipment alone has got to be $100,000. This property also has a drive-through, and ours does not, as you remember. It has 2 access points. Ours only has 1 access point. And it has 27,000 feet of ground, whereas ours is about half that, 12,500.
But you know they make adjustments, right?
For the land?
Yeah.
It's inherent in the price.
Okay.
Yeah, but it still has a drive-through. It still has more capacity than our property does.
Okay.
But my main focus on that one is actually the equipment and the inventory that was included in the sale.
Okay.
And I've listed their names there. The owners of Thunder LLC is Sam Casey, I don't know how he pronounces that last name, and then A.J. Shrestha. They are the 2 cousins that own that business and that property.
Okay. Can we hear from the assessor?
You're the boss.
Let's hear from the assessor.
My first comment on this is that we mail sale verification letters out on every commercial property that's sold.
Okay.
And we only get about 20% back on that. So there's a very good chance that these people did not send us back anything, because we will make an adjustment for inventory and all that kind of stuff. Hotels, car washes, convenience stores, you name it, we send it out because we're required to by OTC. So if we don't get it, we don't get it.
Yeah.
So the only thing we can do is go off of what, and in fact, CoStar didn't mention it in their documentation either. So that's what I have to say about that. The other thing is that I'm sure Jason tried to find sales that were of similar age and size, and maybe these were the best ones that he could find. I will say this is that he didn't use these specifically and coming up with an amount per square foot, because he did reduce the value, and of these 3 sales right here would average and have a median of somewhere around $180 a foot, and the value that he dropped it to is like $136 a square foot. So he looked at the sales and he looked at the income that was provided. Now, the income, one thing that, this is the form that was given us for income, and Jason took that, and we take the ad valorem taxes out when we do an income approach, because that amount is included in our capitalization rate. So we're usually looking at 1.25, 1.30 on that. So we back that out. He used I thought very liberal 10% in his capitalization rate, and it's only coming up to $100 a square foot on the income. So looking at the sales that he had, the income that was provided, he came in at an amount of $230,000, which again was about $136 a foot. And so that's all I've got on that.
That's what he used to reduce it as well then, right? Because originally it looks like he just did the same value as 2023. Did I read that correctly?
No.
No?
Oh, originally.
Yeah, I showed that originally it was at 259,079 and then it was reduced to 230. Did I read that wrong?
Yes, it was reduced. It was reduced in the hearing to 230,000.
The informal this year.
Yes, the informal. Yes, yes it was. And that's all the information I got. I basically picked this up this morning. Jason is home with a sick child, so I'm stepping in for him. So that's all I have.
And you did not see the comps that he provided, that he based his off of?
I did not have any comps other than the 3 that Jason had in his. I don't know if they were. This was the only thing that was printed out. I don't know if they were in document links and I missed them.
You wouldn't have had them.
Okay. So these things are difficult. I mean, you know, you have these buildings that were built as a Pizza Hut, McDonald's, whatever. But the secondary market on these things is usually not that bad. You know, I mean, sometimes more than what you'd think. You know, I mean, we're talking about a building that's up there on North May Avenue and Wilshire in North May. You know, so I thought $130 a foot is pretty reasonable for the thing. So that's all I have.
Thank you.
You get the final word.
Okay, so I've been in the commercial real estate business for 40 years. And when we sell a property on an income basis, we always take out taxes, insurance, and maintenance, and then we apply a capitalization rate. The capitalization rate is typically used based upon the quality of the tenant, the quality of the building, some of those things. For instance, if you have a Dunkin' Donuts that's got a national tenant behind it, you're probably going to get a 7 or 8 or 8.25% cap rate.
Right.
If you've got, you know, a local owner and the building is dilapidated, and those things do add to what you do use as a capitalization rate. The capitalization rate at 10% may or may not be good in the market. The market really tells you what it should be, and the comp sales that I have, that, you know, I mean, there's 3 sales here that were $7, and I won't even tell you what the other one is. It's ridiculous. And the thing about it is, you don't know what's happening on those sales. Similarly, so I've been put those in yellow in my form because I wouldn't have used them for the purposes of this. But I also wouldn't have used the sales that were used by the assessor because of the same reason. You don't know what's happening unless you go to the property and actually look through it and find out that somebody used inventory and equipment and the other party had an access and it was a direct sale. And the other one, which I don't know how got on there, was the Dunkin' Donuts. That was just crazy that one got included. If I look at the green numbers, just the numbers that I pulled, they're anywhere from $47 to $86 a foot. And then on these, which were a little older, I had $76 and $80 a foot. So the high number, the average of the green numbers was $64 a foot, $64.31 a foot. The high in those greens, because there is some discrepancy between the low ones and the high ones. The highest one was $86.42. That was the Colt Bell bonds that I just showed you at 811 Robert S. Kerr, which is that's a downtown location. The one that kind of surprised me was a May Avenue location, $47.11. I probably would not use that as a comp for the number, but it's at 110 South May. That is the corner of May and Reno, the northwest corner of May and Reno. It's got 2 access points. Ours has 1. It has a signalized intersection. Ours does not. It's mid-block. So I just think that and I've used CoStar, I've used LoopNet.
What cap rate did you use if you made that computation? Or did you just go?
Well, again, I would put the taxes in there because if I'm trying to sell the property, an investor's going to say, well, why didn't you put the taxes in there? And there's deferred maintenance, which I did not include. And so deferred maintenance has to be another number. So if you take, I think did I give you guys an income number?
Yeah,
I know he backed one.
Yeah, net operating at 13,619.
Okay, 13,619 is the operating income. So I can't tell you how much the cap rate gets affected by what other part of parts of the property are involved.
Right.
If the property was a corner and it had 2 access points, it's probably gonna have a better cap rate than it is if it's got, it only has 1 access point. So if I'm looking in the market and I'm looking at buying a property like the one on this one that has the limited access, maybe 11%. So not far off from the 10.
Sure.
But again, the 2 things that would have to be in there would be real estate taxes and some sort of deferred maintenance number, in addition to insurance and the property management fee, which is also in there. One final thing is, gosh, I wish I could have gone through all these, but this is that comp that's at May Avenue in Reno. That's the building there. That's the signalized intersection. That's the corner. And that's your assessor mapping feature that allows you to see more of the property having 2 access points, and also that it's a corner where that would block. So there's a lot of data, and it becomes extremely difficult, to get an actual value of what somebody would really buy it for. But it's nowhere near the number, I think, that has been presented. And I guess one final thing, we
Can I just, what was your acquisition date on this?
80s.
Oh, it's a long time ago.
80s.
Okay.
Would have still been a Pizza Hut.
Yes, it was. Yeah, and they were only doing deliveries at that point because their whole concept had changed.
Okay.
And the final point that I would make is that the second final point. I'm sorry. You pay these taxes, and you go along, and you're like, golly, that's high. Every year it's high. Everybody knows that. And then you get to the point where you go, I can't do it anymore. I mean, the last 4 years I've been dealing with this, and it's not anybody's. It's just like, okay, well, what comps did they use? And you start thinking about, and you go do something else. Well, finally, you get to the point where you go, okay, I gotta fight this. I gotta do something different.
And then we don't concern ourselves with the taxes.
Say it again.
We do not concern ourselves with the taxes, only with
The value.
the value.
Of course, it affects that, and so my point is, the only reason that I'm saying that is because, we've let it go for 4 or 5 years,
Right.
believing that it was already high, and so now we're here fighting this not for last year's number or the year before that's number, but really a 5-year ago number because of the issues that we're dealing with this property compared to plenty of other comparables in there that don't have the benefits of inventory and equipment and better access and a brand new remodel with a national tenant.
I do have a question. Do you know how long this renter has been in the building?
Yeah, I brought the original lease, and actually it's a sublease. That sublease was executed on December 12th of 2020.
But that was a sublease, so you had somebody else.
There's a base
that was
lease
paying
under,
this on.
there's a base lease under that, and it started in July of 20, and it ends June 30 of 25.
Was it vacant prior to that?
We've
That's
had
a piece for
restaurants go in and out of there since Pizza Hut. We've had a barbecue, we've had an Italian deal, we had another guy that did sandwiches and desserts. I think we'd like to get away from the restaurant business, but it's kind of set up for that. But COVID knocked restaurants in the dirt for probably 4 years, and so.
It's a good location. It's a really good location. It's easy for me going up and down May Avenue.
Yeah, if you're trying to get out and turn left.
Yeah.
And if you
The parking is challenging. I'll agree that the parking is challenging in there.
Yeah, and then if you had an access back to Porter, that would be good too, because then you could go out and around, but it's not set up that way.
Okay. All right. We thank you for your presentation.
Thank you for allowing me to.
Oh, sure.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Appreciate all you guys do.
Sure.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna close the hearing on BOE 445, which is item 2 on the agenda, and it's time, I guess, to call Mr. Hayes. Good morning, Mr. Hayes. How are you?
I fell asleep again, lady.
Okay, all three of us are here today. So we have items 3 through 15 on the agenda. Do you have any announcements for agreements for us before we get started?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Want to start off with first one is good. That's 3.
Okay, so item 3 is BOE number 191-2660 Clark Street in Choctaw, R197-805,000. So the assessor says 303,000. You agree with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I move on BOE number 191 that we set the fair market value of this property at $303,000 by agreement of both parties.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, close on item 3. What's next?
Number 7.
Okay, item 7 is BOE number 195 R202241620 17537 Zinc Drive. The assessor has it at $288,500. You agree with that valuation?
I'll make a motion on BOE 195, item 7, to set the value at $288,500 by agreement of the parties.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Close the hearing on 195. Which one's next?
Number 8.
Okay, BOE number 196 5504 Southeast 81st Street, R203-961-640. What is the assessor's valuation on this one?
$236,000.
Okay, you agree that the fair market value is $236,000, Mr. Hayes?
Yes.
All right.
I would like to move on item number 8, BOE 196, that we set the fair market value of this property by agreement of both parties at $236,000.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any others?
Number 9.
Okay, number 9 is BOE number 303, 1940 Northwest 176th Street. Number R202431480. My notes indicate the assessor has a valuation of $280,500. You agree with that, Mr. Hayes?
Yes, ma'am.
So I would like to move that on BOE 303, we've set the value by agreement of both parties to $280,500.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any
Number
other?
10.
All right. BOE number 197, item 10 on the agenda, 4404 Southeast 86th Street, R204-101-360. My notes indicate a fair market value of $197,000 requested by the assessor. You agree to that, Mr. Hayes?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
I move on BOE number 197, where we set the fair market value of this property at $197,000 by agreement of both parties.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any others?
What number are we on?
That was-
10?
That was item 10.
Yeah, I agree to that one, should.
Well, we just did 10.
Number 13.
Okay, item 13 on the agenda is BOE number 200, 18408 El Greco Drive, R205721440. Do you agree that the fair market value of this property is $333,000?
Yes.
So I'd like to move on BOE 200, that we set the fair market value by agreement of the parties to $333,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is that the last one, Mr. Hayes?
And number 15.
All right. BOE number 202-9509 Apple Drive R206001090. The assessor's valuation has been requested at $223,500. You agree with that, Mr. Hayes?
Okay.
I would like to move on item number 15, BOE 202, that we set the fair market value of this property by agreement of both parties at $223,500.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we will return then to item 4 on the agenda. BOE number 192-17112 Ridge Circle. R200751340, 2,123 square foot house. The assessor's requested a valuation of $338,318. Last year it was $326,500. The year before $310,000.
338, 313?
Yes, that's correct.
Oh, so I didn't see that. Okay.
What are you requesting, Mr. Hayes?
339.
Okay,
I'll
so
take
the,
more.
so the assessor has a value of 338, 313, which is less than the 339, so is that acceptable to you?
Hold on. I'm showing the market value of 347.
Yeah, that's what I show too. I'm not
May
sure.
I? So if you looked at the information we sent you, we actually adjusted this one at the informal.
Okay.
No, I have
Oh,
338.
I'll take that. 338.
Okay, so may I have a motion?
Yes, I would like to move on agenda item 4, BOE 192, that we set the fair market value of this property by agreement of both parties at $338,318.
318 or 313?
18.
18.
All right, I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll close the hearing on BOE 192 and move to item 5 on the agenda, which is BOE 193, 8316 Canyon Trail Road, R201741090, an 1,875 square foot house. The assessor is asking for a valuation of $255,500. In 23, $244,500, and in 22, $208,500. What are you requesting, Mr. Hayes?
252.
Okay. We're here for why?
The median is 253,571. I just did an average of the three values. They all good in size and they comps for, start off always, 400 square feet, which is not bad. All year pretty much the same. Ran a little bit different on number 3, but I just use all 3. And I average them, just the median, 252 average. Around it, but
You use the medium of which
no, I
price?
used it. I mean,
So
I
you
did
use
the
the
average.
mean. But the mean of which price? The time adjusted or the
Sales adjusted.
sales adjusted?
Hey, we're here from the assessor.
I'll just cut to the chase. I was gonna come in at 253,500 because the median supports that. So I'll let y'all decide on that one. I mean, that's pretty, the comps are great. I used their comp report, or the comps that they used. I used all of theirs and I can support a median of 256. So I feel like me coming to the 253,500 is more than fair, which is the median. Because I used their comps that they used. I know he doesn't like them, but still use them. Come to 256.
What do you say to the 253,500, Mr. Hayes?
I don't necessarily believe in using median because one value only unless it's an exact same sale. So that's why I like to use the average because we're doing math. So when you use math, I only use one sale, but it's pretty much microcosm. It's kind of makes sense. That's why I do the average.
Mr. Hayes, I'm trying to, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, see, I've always had that balance with with the appraisers and, people that work in this field that you shouldn't use one property, but one property value. You should actually do an average of more than one, unless that one property is pretty much the exact microcosm of the other property.
So, Mr. Hayes, I don't know if I took my note down wrong. Did you say that the mean that you were using was 253,571?
No, 252.
252.
252, you said 253, 251.
No, I said 252 was my bad.
Oh,
Yeah, I have him down at 252.
That's what he requested.
So he asked for 252, but I thought he said the median number that he was basing it off of, like you said, was 253. But
No, I know the median was 253 with that, because that's the middle of three. But I don't do medians, because it's not fair to the property owner being that in comparison, you're using one value of one particular property. You should always use an average value, because we're doing it for math. Math means multiple. Median is you're using one. The definition is basically self-explanatory. When you're doing averages, you're doing multiple. When you're doing median concepts, you're using one property. Even though you're saying it's involved in multiple, I don't think it's fair to a property owner to use one value for a property that when you're using math appraisal concepts.
Okay. You have anything? Okay, I'm gonna, so we're.
Can I say one more thing?
Sure.
Sorry. I just wanted to point out, we're mass appraising. So we aren't taking one property. If we're looking at a whole, because again, I went back and made sure everything we did was correct, and I agree with what we did. However, to broaden the picture, there was 11 2023 sales just in this neighborhood alone. And that median is the same exact that we're getting at 253,571. So if we use all 11, we still get the same median if we trim that down to 3. So again, we mass appraise, we don't fee appraise. We're not looking at one, we're looking at all sales.
And these were all in the same neighborhood?
All in the same neighborhood.
What's the neighborhood?
Good question. Oh, just go to the 85, yeah. Prairie Ridge, yeah.
Southeast Oklahoma City.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So either way I looked at it, using theirs, using what we provided, using the 11 of the entire neighborhood, the median is all getting the same number. So that's why I came down to 253,500. I think that's more than fair.
Okay. Last word, Mr. Hayes.
Paying a value. That's from a concept. Median is the exact number of a particular property. I never had that.
Okay.
I've been in trailer for 20 years.
Okay, I'm gonna close the hearing on BOE 193. Item 6 on the agenda is open for BOE 194 17721 Gold Drive, R20224 1160. The assessor is at 255.5. The previous year was 244.5, and the previous year was 210.5. What are you asking, Mr. Hayes?
What number is that?
194. Last 4 numbers are 1160.
Oh, hold on, sorry. 1160. What was the value last year?
244.5.
I'm sure I'm the right one. Sorry. I'm a little bit short. I'm like I said, I need the average. I'm at 254. Not asking for much.
Okay, we'll hear from the assessor.
you want to explain why?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said
He's off by 500, but I'm curious why.
Okay.
So the median on this particular value looks like it would be 253,560. I'm actually asking for $440 more because I do average.
So you didn't reject their promise this time?
No.
Okay. So I'll hear from the assessor.
Okay. So I don't know what he's looking at because the average is 258, 362. And the median is 257, 540. And to be completely honest, and because I don't understand why this was even being argued. Because if we were even to lower that up $1,500, Ryan's objective is to lower the taxable. I know we don't associate ourselves with the taxable. The taxable is so low on this one, I don't understand why $1,500 on the market value is even worth the time, which is, again, a waste of time. But anyway, on this one, square footage on 17721 Gold Drive is 1,577 square feet. The value of $255,500 gives us a price per square foot of $162.02. The 6-comp report supports a median value of $257,540, which includes one of the property that was provided by Ryan, and that is comp number 5 in our report. And that was the only one that we were able to use.
Of his.
Of theirs. Yeah, but it was actually already included in our original report. We had 33 total 2023 sales in this neighborhood. I can't remember if I mentioned it, but the price per square foot on the subject home is $162.02. The comps, their price per square foot, the range here is $160.18 to $170.25. And so that's all I have on that.
Final word, Mr. Hayes.
I don't know, man.
Okay. I'm going to close the hearing on BOE 194 and go to item
Looks like 11.
Item 11, which is BOE 198 11162 Larkin Lane R20440 1350. Mr. Hayes, are you requesting $165,600 on this one?
No, ma'am, hold on. Give me a second. Don't have this with me. One. Check this. Hold on, I gotta find this. I kept them all up on purpose. And then I go to total, can't find it. There we go. Sorry about that. On this particular property, I came in at $274,500. Once again, I use the average value of all the three. It's only 3 comps. All of them were close in size. Actually, one of them was pretty much the same size, and it sold for $235. It's just $259. But and it adjusted to $261 on the sales adjustment. So I took the average of all three and came to $274,500.
Okay.
The other two were below 2,000 square feet. Land a little bit larger. So I took the average of all three. If you want to call it the
Okay, we'll hear from the assessor.
Okay. 6016 Southeast. Oh, sorry, we're not on that one. 11162 Larkin Lane. Your major streets here is East Reno Avenue and North Westminster Road. Square footage is 2,011 square feet. We have the value currently at $278,500 with the price per square foot of $138.49. Again, I can make the same argument. I don't understand why this one's being appealed because the taxable is so much lower. It's not even going to matter what he's requesting because it's not going to touch that.
What was the purchase date and price?
Yes. So this is an unqualified sale in June of 21. It's a multi-property purchase, but if you go back to the last arm's length transaction, it was actually January of 21 for $206,500. Yes. So if you notice, the 3 cells that we did use were all in this little, I don't know what you want to call it, right on the same, in the same neighborhood. I mean, very, very close to the subject, and it supports that value, and it actually supports a slightly higher value than what we currently have them on for. The comps that we were provided were not good at all, to be completely honest. If we expand that search to up to a mile, we had 31 sales in 2023. But I felt like the 3 comps that were used here are, I mean, they're right in the neighborhood. They're right there. So I don't see why those comps can be ignored there.
I did see that one of the comps was a March of 2022 comp,
Yep.
although it works in the taxpayer's favor because it's the lowest of the 3.
Right.
But would that indicate then that there were no other 2023 comps within that neighborhood?
That is correct. And again, that's why if we were to have to expand the search a little bit, I mean, we can do that, but I felt like the 3 that were used, they're in the neighborhood. I mean, they're sufficient. They support our value. So
And
with
did you use a median
yes,
value then
median,
rather
yes,
than the mean?
correct.
Because he's using
He's
some
using
version of the mean.
Yeah. The mean, I mean, it takes your highest and your lowest. I mean, you're adding all of them up and dividing it by 3. That's all it is.
Is there a reason why you use median versus mean?
Because we mass appraise.
Because of the mass appraisal?
Yes, because of mass appraisal. What
So
it
you
sounds
feel
like
it's
to
a
me.
fairer value then?
Yes.
Or?
Yes, and that's across any of them. I feel like, and I may be wrong, but it sounds like how Brad's coming up with his is more of a fee appraising standpoint than a mass appraisal standpoint. But we mass appraise, so that's kind of why I'm where we're at here, and that's what I'm sticking with.
Hold on, Mr. Hayes.
Okay, so because I've done all.
Wait, whoa. Redhead.
No.
Okay, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Mr. Hayes, sorry.
And in every respect, I've been a master appraiser, been an appraiser and a CAD, and I'm now a consultant. I've traveled the country arguing this concept. You're doing mass appraisal. Mass appraisal means multiple. So why would you choose one dot? You're singling out one dot. It never makes sense.
I'm not understanding you, Mr. Hayes.
Georgia, Indiana.
Mr. Hayes, I'm missing a word.
It was multiple. Mass appraisal was multiple. So I use multiple values and I average them. It kind of makes sense when you're doing fee. Anytime you're doing mass appraisal, even for singular, you can do the same to be fair to a property. Whether you're doing tax value or regular value. The reason why I argue value to the dollar, because every year the value can be raised based off the reset value. That's why we have to argue down to the penny. Because that value is used the next year to raise the value for taxable purposes.
Absolutely not. You have seen when we give the 3 years valuation, a lot of times it's lower. And then sometimes it's the same. So there's not an instance here where every one of your properties has had a 3-year increase in the assessor's valuation, Mr. Hayes.
And we're taught to argue every value on the dollar.
Okay.
Been doing it for years.
Okay. Are you done?
Oh yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna close the hearing on BOE number 198, which was item 11, and go to item 12, BOE 199, 6016 Southeast 67, R 204 581 250. The assessor's asking for valuation setting of $204,500. My notes indicate you're asking $169,600. Is there a different figure, Mr. Hayes?
199.5.
Okay.
I've looked at the, like I said, I just have a notion of doing this. When I pay close attention to adjusted values, when I see the same value, Looking at the average of the two at 199, 286, number two, and number one. And they are pretty close to the subject property value. Number four is 1,600. If you look at number four, pretty much the same, 0.19 miles. It has 20,000 adjustments. Notice that number one and number two have 9 and 11,000 adjustments. The only one with smaller adjustments is number 6. But it's sold for the exact same value. So I thought that was kind of close to be sold for 199. Somehow the adjustments was a lot higher, even though it was only 8 square foot at 1,586. But look how it adjusted to 213. I didn't really understand that. I wanted to use that. And if you look at all the adjustments in number 6, it adjusted 3% for the size. The land's pretty much the same for all 2 years. I didn't understand the adjustment. I would have used it in condensed out of the neighborhood, but I didn't like the final value. It didn't make sense.
Are you talking number two?
Number 6.
Oh, number
Number
six.
6, he didn't like the adjustments.
Number 6, I do understand, but the time adjustment is what ballooned it. I don't agree with the time adjustments on that one,
Looks like the
but I do
neighborhood.
know that they sold for 199 at the beginning of the year. Remember, we're talking about a property for sale versus a property that has been purchased years before. So we know it's been upgraded. So I would hope you factor that in. And it's one of the farthest away from it at 172. So I based mine off number 1 and 2 heavily at 199.9 and 199.2, and I come up with 199.5.
So you didn't
Number
use
4.
comp 3, you only did comp 1 and 2.
Yes, ma'am. Number 4, 1,500 sold for 237,000. That's almost 40,000 higher. That's 20%. Number 5 is even worse. Sold at 25%. That's 25%. Because our value is at 204. We have 55,000. That's 41,000 higher. That's a bit higher. That price per square feet is much better. Then look at the price per square feet on number 6 at 152. So these prices per square feet are a lot higher. When you have a difference of 20 and 30 and $40 on price per square foot, that shows you that something's different. Then you have a low value on number 3 of 132. So I just stuck with the 145, kind of in the middle. It's like you say, it's a mean, unfortunately. I did an average, and that gives me a value of 199.5.
Okay, we're here from the assessor.
Okay.
What's our intersection here?
Yeah, our major streets here is 240 and South Sooner Road.
Okay.
Square footage on the property is 1,302 square feet. Current value of 204,500 gives us a price per square foot of $157.07. I would like, if you would just pull up that comp 6 real quick, and I can explain that. So comp 6, the reason you're seeing a bigger adjustment there is because this one is actually outside of the neighborhood. That's what there is a adjustment on that. I know, again, you don't particularly like that and the time trend, but it is a comp. The sale price, just because someone paid an X amount of money for it, does not mean it is a remodel. That is an assumption. And I'm glad you brought that up because Oklahoma County as a whole is becoming more and more desirable. We're actually catching Tulsa County in how many properties we have. So before too long,
What do you mean? How many properties we have?
with residential properties as a whole, we're actually catching Tulsa County.
Tulsa has more than Oklahoma County? As big of a county as we are?
Tulsa County is actually the biggest county in Oklahoma.
I thought Osage was.
Well, for what's the word?
Number of residences.
Yes, yeah, for number of residences.
Tulsa?
So, but Oklahoma County we're actually catching it. We're constantly building. It's a very desirable area,
It's built.
and but just because someone paid an X amount for a property does not mean it's remodeled. I mean, look at the last couple of years that's happened in Oklahoma
Okay.
County. People, even though interest rates what they were, people were still overbuying
Yes.
just because they wanted that house. So using a sell price and saying, oh, that is remodeled is just an assumption. So based on the data that we have and based on the ages of all these properties, they're very close in age, very close in square footage. And those 6 comps comes out with a median of 206,801 and gives you a price per square foot range here of $153.06 all the way up to $169.73, which puts the subject property right in the middle of those. Actually, on the lower end, if you actually want to be honest with it. And then looked at Ryan's comps. All but one of those comps were within a mile. So didn't really take those into consideration because our 6 are closer to the subject.
You say Ryan's were within a mile?
One comp
One
was within a mile.
Okay.
Everything else was farther.
Okay, that's what.
And so that's all
But
I
that doesn't necessarily mean it was a valid comp.
Right. Yeah, when I saw it was just one, I didn't even bother.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, can I speak? Can you keep that, whatever that screen you pulled up and show number 6 again? Because I can specifically remember me mentioning that I didn't agree with the concept of the time adjustment. That is why he actually sat there and said, and go back to the tape, that it adjusted for the neighborhood. When did you start adjusting more money for a neighborhood? I've never heard of that.
We've adjusted neighborhoods the entire time we've been doing this.
That line is on there.
It's your 1, 2, 3, your 5th to last line.
Trust me, I know that. Let me ask you a question. Do you adjust up or down?
Well, in this one we adjusted down.
Okay.
It says negative 2.82%.
If you can remember, I said that you guys, I didn't agree with your adjustments because of the time adjustment. You go back to the recording and hear that.
Wait, but you're on the neighborhood now.
Yeah, I'm confused.
You're on
That
the
number is in the neighborhood.
Now he's saying it's a time adjustment.
And there is a
That's
time
the one at the
adjustment.
top, right?
Yeah, it's the one at the top.
Here's the value of the
Since it's January
213.
2023.
That's what I told you I didn't agree with.
Yeah,
That's why I didn't use that.
it's a January sale. So it happened at the beginning of the year. So you have to adjust for the time if that property would have sold at the end of 2023.
I decided that I wouldn't use that because they went outside the neighborhood to use a property to use for this property that was sold at the beginning of the year, only to benefit raising the value. That's just how I feel.
Okay.
That's why I didn't use it.
Okay,
I
so
understand.
If you had a property.
wait, we got it. You're at 199.5, and they're at 204.5. I guess we're not going to meet on this one. Okay, so I'm gonna close the hearing on BOE 199 and move to our final one is going to be item 14 on the agenda, which is BOE 201 4540 Southeast 81st R 205 79 1410. The assessor's asking for $209,000, and Mr. Hayes, I have here $183,700. You gonna change that number?
Yes, 207.5.
Okay. Okay, we'll hear from you.
Out of the 6 comps, they all were close and pretty decent in size. Not a lot going on, all in the same neighborhood. Like I said, I normally use 3. I used 1, 2, and 4, but number 1, 2, and 4. Number 3, no, number 2, I think. No, number 1 was close off. No, hold on. It's 1 that I used that shoot. No, number 5. Number 5 is actually close to the value, but I used 1, 2, and 4, and I noticed that number 5 was the same. I could have used that, and the averages would have still came to the same.
Okay, hear from the
So I
assessor.
went 207.05, and I didn't use number 4, but number 4 is close to that value.
I thought you said you used 1, 2, and 4.
Yeah, 1, 2, I'm talking about number 5.
Okay.
And why didn't you use comp 3? Because it's closer than, it's the same distance as comp 1.
It had a higher adjustment. Number 3 is the largest property at 1495. So I didn't think I should use the largest if it has a higher adjustment.
No, the one that was the largest property was comp 6. Comp 3 was 1221 square feet compared to 1259.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at comp 6. It had the higher adjustment, almost 8,000. All these adjustments on this one, never seen it, don't see this a lot. All these adjustments were low. Besides number 6. Number 6 had 17,000. So I used the comps with the lowest adjustment, 1, 2, and 4. Number 5 had a small too, but I had never seen they did a great job to find the comps on it because the adjustments were low.
Okay, we're here from the assessor.
4540 Southeast 81st Street. Your major streets here is 240 and South Sunny Lane. You got a square footage of 1,259 square feet. We have a 24 value at $209,000 with a price per square foot of $166 flat. The last sale on this was a multi-property purchase in February of 22. I did not look back on this one when the last valid sale was, so I don't have that this time. 6 comp report here supports a median of 209,688, and Mr. Hayes kind of took the words right out of my mouth. These are pretty excellent comps, very minimal adjustments across the board. It sounds like the 3 you picked were the lower sales, which is okay, I guess. But I don't know why you wouldn't use comp 3, kind of like what Teresa said, or yeah, comp 3 instead. Anyway, but that's an opinion as well, and that's okay. But again, all these are 23 sales, all in the neighborhood. Our comps are closer to the subject than Ryan LLC, so that's why I didn't use any of theirs, and that's why we're at 209.
Unless you got any questions.
No, I'm good.
Mr. Hayes, you get the final word.
Nothing further, man.
Now tell me one more time why you didn't use 3.
Since to me, they use some of the best comps they use, okay? Notice that number 3 has the highest adjustment besides number 6.
Okay.
We have 4 comps. They have the least adjustment. Number 1, 2, 4, and 5. If you look at it, 1, 2, and 4, the ones I use, averages up to the comp value of the adjusted sale of number 5, minus 5 over 9. So if that's not a good indication of my value, I don't know what it is.
Okay, I'm going to close the hearing on BOE 201, and that does it for the day, Mr. Hayes. We've got, is it 2 tomorrow?
2 before.
Okay, we have 2 before you tomorrow, and hopefully they won't take as long, but we never know. One of the ones today was commercial, so it took a little bit. But we'll talk to you in the morning.
I'll make a motion to close the meeting.
Yes.
Second.
Did you like, is he going?
It is
No, I just hung up.
Okay. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Oh, all in favor? Aye.
Trying to set him off today.